Topic 1. Tensions between the US and China over trade and sanctions. Tensions are escalating between the US and China regarding trade and sanctions. China has announced plans to impose sanctions on US officials for what it deems inappropriate actions related to Hong Kong. This is seen as a retaliatory measure against US sanctions on Hong Kong and Chinese officials, with China accusing the US of violating international law. Additionally, China has warned other countries against entering trade agreements that could harm its interests, threatening decisive action if such deals occur. These mutual sanctions and warnings signal further conflict amid an already tense trade war. Topic 2. Economic impact of Trump's tariffs. Federal Reserve President Austin Goolsbee noted that President Trump's tariffs are prompting US business owners to stock up on inventory, leading to a temporary increase in economic activity. However, he warned that consumer spending may decline in the summer, particularly affecting industries like automotive and electronics. Trump's tariffs, which impose high duties on several countries, including China, are raising import prices in the US, causing consumers and businesses to rush purchases before tariffs take effect. This situation has led to factory shutdowns in China's Shuin village due to the end of a tax exemption that allowed online retailers to enter the US market at lower prices. The global economic impact is severe, with trade flows shrinking and growth rates at their lowest since the pandemic. Countries in Europe and Asia are announcing budget plans to mitigate the effects of the trade war, while some are seeking new trade routes to bypass the US. Ultimately, Trump's tariff policies are disrupting global supply chains and increasing market volatility, potentially having long-term effects on both the US and global economies. Topic 3. Concerns over Federal Reserve policies and interest rate decisions. President Donald Trump has intensified his criticism of Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, demanding interest rate cuts. Trump labeled Powell a big loser and warned that failure to lower rates could slow the US economy. He claims there is virtually no inflation in the US and that energy and other costs are declining. Trump is considering the legal possibility of removing Powell, which could shock the markets. Powell has clarified that the president cannot dismiss him. Trump's criticism is intertwined with concerns over economic slowdown due to his tariff policies, leading to negative market reactions. Some economists warn that Trump's actions could threaten the independence of the Federal Reserve. Topic 4. Potential eviction of 60,000 Americans due to lapsing rental assistance. Approximately 60,000 households in the US are facing eviction due to a lack of funding for rental assistance programs. Initiated by President Biden in 2021 as part of pandemic relief, the program aimed to support rent for those fleeing homelessness or domestic violence. However, rising rents are expected to deplete the allocated $5 billion in funds more quickly than anticipated, putting many at risk of returning to the streets or violent situations. The program's future depends on Congress, but securing additional funding is challenging. While Democratic lawmakers are pushing for more support, Republicans advocate for spending cuts, leaving many in uncertainty, particularly individuals like Daenerys Espinal and her 2 daughters in Brooklyn who rely on this program. Topic 5. Technological challenges and innovations. This week, global economic leaders will gather at the International Monetary Fund and World Bank's spring meetings in Washington to discuss economic issues, including public debt, social aging, and the economic impact of artificial intelligence, AI. However, President Trump's proposed import tax increase is not included in the official agenda. Trump aims to raise US import taxes to their highest level in a century, significantly impacting the